And then I see Heather popping up all over, and I'm like, you know what? You should come on the podcast.
So part of my story, since college up until 2019, I've been arrested for DWI 5 times.
Yeah, I posted something a long time ago. It was like, it's a guy there with like his shirt off, and he's got a big white sign. It's like, we can agree and still be friends. So Chad Szymanski, who would have thought that little Chad would be a common denominator between you and I having a conversation?
Old chatty.
Yeah, shout out to Chad over at O'Connor Roofing.
Small world. What a trip.
Yeah,
I don't know if Chad will tell you, but I decorated his face and traumatized him when he was like 6 years old.
So for those of you just tuning in, which all of you are because we just started, Chad he works for a client of mine, and he's a great guy, an amazing worker, and he hit me up about 4 months ago. He's like, you know my cousin Heather. I'm like, Heather who? Heather Hitchcock. I'm like, I don't know Heather. Well, you're friends on Facebook. Chad, I'm friends with a lot of people on Facebook. Doesn't mean I know them, which is weird. That's a whole conversation in and of itself.
I know.
Right? Mark Zuckerberg says you're friends. You know, yeah. And then I see Heather popping up all over, and I'm like, you know what? You should come on the podcast. And she voice texted me.
I know. I'm the worst.
On Messenger, which, you know, in that moment, I'm like, okay, so either block her.
One of two things.
Yeah, or just don't engage, right? I don't know.
Ignore.
And then, like, we had an entire conversation. It was pretty amazing as
See?
to why you stand where you stand on voice texting, my feelings on it. And I think we both grew a little bit that day. So let's talk about it.
I agree.
Why do you choose the voice text?
Yeah, so I used to cringe when I would see that stupid bubble thing. I'd be like, really? And then you see the time, and I'm like, negative, bro. Siri makes me look insane. And then I'm frustrated because I'm correcting myself. And so I just figure, why not let them hear my voice, hear my tone, and there's no confusion.
Okay. I mean, that's fair. That's fair. At what point...
Tell me why you hate it. Okay, go ahead.
Okay, so you've got folks, and if you're this person, it's fine. It's just I won't engage with you, okay?
No, it's not fine.
if you want to talk to me, it's not fine, but otherwise, like, I won't, past that, go with God. It's great.
Yeah,
you
later.
got people where it's like perpetual voice messages, right? And the first one might be 17 seconds, then there's a 3-minute voice. Like, at what point do we decide, I'm going to fucking call you? Like, and let's have a conversation.
I'm with you.
Right? So where do you draw that line? Where do you stop Where do you stop yourself and you're like, you know what, I'm just going to call this person?
Okay, I think we talked about this when we messaged, but I'm going to just re-throw this in. My primary thing is convenience.
Yeah.
I mean, I got 3 kids. I'm blowing and going all the time. Sometimes I can answer a phone. Sometimes I can't. Sometimes I text. Sometimes I can't. Whatever. So I'm going to get in when I fit in. Mm-hmm. And if you can respond, great. If you can call me, even greater. If not, at least I've communicated what I need to.
That's fair.
Okay.
So let's assume, right, kids are swimming, having a good time, right? or they're playing Fortnite or whatever it is that your kids do. And mom's got some time to herself, but it's still more convenient because for whatever reason you're doing shit around the house and, making food, whatever, that you just want to voice text. Is there ever a moment where you're like, I'm just going to call this person?
Probably they call me because I'm sending so many voice messages. No, I'm good with it now. I've completely done a 180, and I used to judge people and cringe, and now I lead off with, I'm really sorry. I'm the obnoxious voice texter.
Yeah. Well, at least you own it.
I just go.
At least you own it.
Yeah.
So it's funny because you say people will call you. You feel somewhat similarly to how I feel with voice texting. Initially, again, I've moved off my hardline stance a bit since having this conversation with Heather initially about a few weeks ago.
You're growing.
Gaining perspective, to be fair. So there was growth there, and I thank you for that. But you felt, I feel like, similarly about communicating via a Facebook phone call as I felt about voice texting. So why don't you share with the audience why you feel...
Okay. Well, this is probably more because I am a female, and I actually don't talk about this like ever because I'm not into the whole thing. But in regards to Facebook Messenger, dudes be weird, and they be sending and calling. And so when I see that, it just makes my whole body go, because I'm not interested. So by default, even though that was absolutely not the intent, obviously, that's just a general thing for me in Messenger.
Yeah.
I'd rather give you my phone number knowingly and call me like a professional.
Sure.
Versus think I need to hide my phone
if you can
number.
handle 50 to 20 more leads. Like, again,
Exactly.
right, no doubt.
I really wasn't sure if you were kidding or not.
Yeah, so, for those of you here, that's what I messaged Heather with initially was, are you able to handle 15 to 20 more leads? And she's like, well, I don't know you well enough to know if you're fucking with me or not. Because if you aren't fucking with me, I will block you.
That's exactly right.
And I'm like, chill. Let's not overreact. I'm just kidding. God.
No, you're right.
Yeah. And I look at it as, so being aware, right? I'm aware that Heather's a female and I'm a male. And I'm also aware about how fucking weird dudes can be, especially in DMs. I didn't call her, but if I were to, it would be because I feel like that would be more appropriate when we're already engaging on Messenger than to say, hey, can I have your number? Because to me, that seems fucking weird, right?
I can appreciate that.
Yeah. So it's all these these customary things within society and the way people view them. I find it fascinating. I really do.
It is fascinating.
You're you're in a big competition right now, aren't you?
I am. Yeah. Apparently.
Decra Roofs. They chose you along with 5 others?
5 others.
5 others. So 6 total. Now, was this the first one you installed?
This was not only my first Decra roof, this was my first metal roof ever. It was beautiful. I'm really blessed, and I got a really cool project in a really prime location. So it definitely helped the cause. But yes, my manufacturer's rep actually harassed me to submit the picture, and then I had no idea. Made me laugh.
I mean, the roofing system's beautiful. That house is fucking gorgeous.
It's pretty.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
thank you.
Like perfect storm.
It's cool.
Yeah. Yeah. So what is it? What is it like if you're taking on a project where, and maybe have you done metal roofs outside of your company before? Do you have any experience, or have
no? And I no, I don't. But I'm not just like this reckless person out here. So I am aligned with incredible resources. So I don't bite off anything I can't chew. This was something I had a team of people to teach me through.
Of course.
But it was my first metal roofing application.
Yeah, so like where my mind goes is like I would imagine, and this is just me thinking through this, trying to empathize with your situation. I would imagine that regardless of the resources that I have at my disposal, if I've never done something before, I'm going to be pretty, and I mean, I feel like the stakes are high. That's a pretty big project from what it looked like, right?
Crazy high. So many stressful components that you wouldn't even think about it.
I feel like I'd be anxious, really anxious, even though, I'd be confident. Dude. I think I would be equally anxious until it were done and like we got to the finish line and it's like, let's get it, right?
Michael, I've never thought I had a legitimate heart attack more times in my life than like the 9 days that I built that roof. So it's actually really fitting. I hope we win this. The more I'm thinking about it, it's been a few months. I've forgotten how traumatizing it was. No, it was very challenging. It was intense. It was stressful. But again, I felt like I had the right resources, and I'm kind of that mindset of like, let's do this. I believe I'm at least equipped to figure it out.
Sure.
And I have great people in my corner. Super stressful.
I mean, it's amazing to have quality people that you can depend on to lean on in those types of situations, right? Like they say, like network is net worth. Net worth is network, whatever the hell they say. They say something, but there's truth
something
to that,
cool.
Right?
1,000%.
Yeah.
Yes.
Interesting.
Yep.
When did you found your company?
September 2020. The height of COVID.
Height of COVID. What was that like?
Crazy, dude. Crazy.
Let's elaborate.
Yeah, so I obviously just got into roofing a couple years ago, and prior to that had zero industry experience.
Why is that obvious?
I did. Oh, I guess I say obvious, but I guess it's not obvious.
Anywho.
Unbeknownst to you, I've only been in. No, but I'm new to the industry. How about that? And my family has a construction background, but nothing to do with roofing. I was in the fitness industry, and I had a gym, a really successful gym, and I also worked in a multi-level marketing company.
So I get involved in this multi-level marketing company. I had never had any exposure to MLM before. Comp plan had never changed. 30 years in business, all of these things, willable to your children, residual income for life, wonderful things. And to give you context, 600,000 distributors. I'm top 150 income earners. Now I'm only telling you that because we get an email that says, hey, get on this Zoom. And we get on this Zoom and then we're told, guess what? In 6 weeks, you're losing all your income. So I was very quickly forced to refigure out what I was going to be when I grew up. I had a buddy who had a small residential roofing company. By that I mean maybe he did 7 roofs a year. I had no clue roofing was a thing. And that was really how I got involved in the industry. I was sitting on a job, little roof, running back and forth to Home Depot for him. He promised to pay me $600. And I was like, sweet Jesus, I've hit the promised land. And just really fast, that was an insurance claim. I'm fast forwarding, for the sake of time, but he showed me the scope of work and he showed me how much insurance was paying to replace the roof. And then he told me how much it was costing him. And it was like, game over. I'm going to sell roofs because I had literally lost everything very fast and went from being on top of the world to the bottom real fast. So roofing became it. I went to work for 3 contractors over the course of 9.5 months. Super shady people. I'm trusting them to train me. I knew nothing, but I figured out very fast that people were not honest and had no integrity, and I just wasn't about that life. And so I lived in a community where hail had hit almost a year prior. I had no clue. Filed a claim on my own home, used that money to invest into a program to teach me about how to roof, and obviously lots in between, but that was really how it started. And yeah, the height of COVID.
Do you think that it was, I'm sure it was very nerve-wracking in the beginning to start during the pandemic, but do you think that was a detriment in the very beginning of your business, or do you think that it was a blessing and really helped you?
It's so weird because it was like I was getting into such a new industry. I had no experience or litmus test to gauge, so nothing seemed weird. It actually seemed weird that I had so much momentum at the height of something that was not very momentous.
Sure.
Yeah.
So we had a lot of clients, and some of them were shaken and the uncertainty, right? It's like we're in the early March and people start shutting everything down and people can't leave the house. It's like, fuck, pump the brakes. Other people were like, double down on everything we're doing. There's gonna be opportunity here.
Yeah.
People are gonna sit at home, and I mean, a lot of people did really well. It's nerve-wracking. You don't know what's going to happen, how long things are going to happen for. I mean, I'm in New York, so we couldn't leave the fucking house for a year and a half. It's crazy.
Yeah. Well, when you say it like that, I remember now there were a couple months where I had all these adjuster meetings where legit they wouldn't even come because of COVID. And so they were damaged roofs, but I was just having to show photograph proof, and roofs were getting bought. So again, this was my first, encounter with roofing, so I didn't really know.
This shit's easy.
I'm like, this is great, man. But I also just started, I had we were joking about Chad. I didn't even realize Chad did this until I started roofing, because I didn't know roofing was such a thing, and that sounds so dumb, but I just assumed roofing was like roofing. There was a stereotype attached. I never thought it was a thing, and had
What's
no
that stereotype.
Roofers in my area. The stereotype is con men. That's the stereotype. So I didn't think it was like this prestigious.
Same for marketing.
Yeah. But I didn't know like all the people, you know, like the John Cenaks and the Adam Bensmans. I had no idea that roofing was such a thing, and there was actually leadership and vision, and you know, like, so my mind was blown. I was just trying to survive financially. I didn't have a vision or a company, so it was very different.
What was your first job?
My first job was, what was my first job? What was my first job? Why can't I remember that? I worked in college. I worked at so I worked for my family's business, but I worked at what do you call it? What's the auction? A vehicle auction. When I was like on the aisles, real like high chaos. There's like 20 lanes and repossessed vehicles and but yeah, I was an auction recorder for repossessed cars. Yeah, it was pretty exciting.
How'd you like that?
I liked it. It was intense. I'm an intense person, so I kind of jive with intensity.
You would give yourself, your today's self, were to give your 15-year ago self some advice, what would that piece of advice be?
Oh my gosh. I would give that person so much advice. You know, I think that so much of my problems that started when I was a young kid stemmed from seeking approval from people that, I don't mean this like disrespectfully, but like we have this like innate thing in us to like be liked by everyone or be accepted, and if we aren't, then we take it on, and like there's this real reality that like we're a bunch of people and we're not all going to love each other, right? It's okay to not be liked by everyone, but I think at that age, really seeking the approval of people and thinking things were so much more important than they really were would be a big thing that I would talk to myself about. Big.
I think that would be a productive
conversation,
impactful conversation.
Yeah,
I agree. It's interesting, and it's interesting what social media has done, you know, with that perception, because I feel like it's kind of magnified it, you know, and perpetuated it, and everyone aspires to be that person they see with the perfect life on social media. It's like, yeah, believe me, they're taking L's every day too.
Say that again.
Right, like, yeah, they don't show it on their stories, but they're taking plenty of L's. So
no,
be careful.
No, for sure. I in fact, when I owned my gym, I had it very intentionally in a community that was what's the word, affluent, right? And a lot of people that put on these, like, you know, keeping up with the Joneses, and you got to have the picture perfect. And anyway, I had a hard season of life at that time, but I learned, everyone exposed to me that every single person has something going on in their life, in their family. Everyone has a thing. So you can't trust what you see as that kind of stuff.
Yeah, and it's interesting because I don't think that like a lot of people intentionally. I think there's definitely people that mislead to make it seem like they're perfectly coping with everything, nothing's bothering them. But I think a lot of other people are willing to talk about some of the stuff, and maybe it's not online, but maybe it's offline. But I think that people have a tendency to take a look at somebody that they admire and just assume like their life is perfect.
Yeah,
like, I want to be like this person because like look at them, they're just fucking slaying life. Like, meanwhile, they could be more depressed than they've ever been. Right? Been there.
Yeah. Same. Yeah.
So it's like, it's always, I don't want to say fascinates, but it does kind of fascinate me, honestly. It's like, why do we feel that way? Why just because we admire something or someone that we assume everything's perfect? Just because of that.
Yeah.
I don't have answers. I've got questions, though. I've got plenty of questions.
Me too. Me too, brother. Me too.
So you talked about some tough seasons.
Yeah. Yeah.
Let's talk more about toughness and those seasons of toughness.
Mm-hmm.
What does that look like for you?
Oh my gosh. I mean, honestly.
We got time.
Do what?
We got time.
We got time?
We got time.
I mean, where do you want to start? Because, I mean, my middle name prior to about 2 years ago was Tough Seasons.
No, it's only real if it said it on your Facebook profile.
I think it...
Like, Mike's School of Hard Knocks Stearns.
You want me to make you laugh about my middle name? Okay, so I just took my middle initial off Facebook because, okay, I am 42 years old and I just got tuned onto this. My friends just said, Heather, do you realize what your name says? Okay, do you know my last name? Mm-hmm. Okay, say my last name. Hitchcock. Okay. My middle name is just the letter S, like Sam. S. No period. Okay. Visualize S and then Hitch. The first 3 letters are hit, so S and hit. Okay. My whole life, everyone's reading my name as Heather Hitchcock, and I have no clue. So, I'm not having my middle name on. The whole point of that story was the middle name confirmation.
Yeah, just beware, guys and gals, of what your name says when you put it together on Facebook. You don't want to end up like Heather Hitchcock here.
My Instagram handle, I was like, and then it's like when someone says it and you see it for the first time, then you can't unsee it. I'm like, how have I gone my whole life and never seen this?
Who pointed this out?
My girlfriend.
We got to shout her out.
Joy, my girlfriend Joy Warnicki, saved me.
Wear capes.
Man, she saved me. So Tough Seasons. I mean, so honestly, when the MLM went under, it was really tough because I mentioned a little bit about my backstory, but I had started all of this, as a single mom, and I got married and. All of this was mine prior to getting married, and in the divorce, I gave my gym away thinking I would have Advocare for life. Advocare was the MLM I was involved in, and when that happened, it was like everything just because I had my identity was wrapped up in my gym, and my identity was wrapped up in being married, and my identity was wrapped up in being an Advocare Diamond distributor, and like within a matter of, I don't know, 18 months, like I lost everything. And I'm a tough person. I've been through hell. My whole life has been hard, and it wrecked me, dude. It destroyed me. Like, it was like, that was it. Like, I had lost my desire to live. I had no hope. I thought that I never saw myself being able to rebuild even like a decent life, let alone like a really prosperous and blessed life. And so it was just a really hard season. I had been self-employed for so long. I didn't even know like what to do. Like, I had so many skills, but I have been self-employed for 11 years. Like, my resume, what do you do? So it was a really, really hard season, but it was a beautiful season that segued, here to roofing. So
how did you cope with that at your worst?
How did I cope with it? I took a lot of Adderall. I loved Adderall. No, but I mean, I did. I took a lot of Adderall. I numbed myself pretty seriously and got myself into pretty bad shape, not realizing with Adderall. I got to a place where I had no desire to do anything, and so I started taking this Adderall because it was supposed to help me, and it did. And then it was like, all of a sudden, I'm like strung out on Adderall. And that's what it took to get me out of bed because I was so depressed. And then I was just this hot mess. So it was unhealthy coping mechanisms for show.
Mm. Is that the only kind of substance abuse that you had in life?
Yeah, I quit drinking 3 years ago. I have a zero judgment when alcohol goes into my body, and I make really poor choices, and I don't have the ability to like make sure, like it's just a 50-50 shot. So I put that down because it's just not good for me. But for me, all the substances were kind of but a symptom. It wasn't like, I've never like, oh, I need alcohol today. I go months and don't drink. It's just when I drink, I act like a total asshole. It's the only other word I know how to use to describe it, but stupid, totally stupid. So those are the things when I started to get healthy and intentional about how I live my life, it was like, okay, these things serve me none. Only terrible consequences have come from, this. So I got to that point where I was just evaluating all the things in my life and like, this serves me, this serves me. Okay. So it was like, let's get that out of my life.
Yeah, I can relate with the alcohol thing. I stopped drinking like 4 years ago, and then during COVID, I drank for like 4 months straight.
Really?
I stopped drinking because not only did I act like an asshole, but I couldn't stop drinking.
Okay.
Right? So it's like, starts off with, okay, well, we're going to have a couple beers. And it's like, well, I might as well get a bottle of Tito's.
Yeah.
Next thing you know, 4 months goes by, you drink every day.
Wow.
And you feel like shit. Why do you feel like shit, Mike? Because you're doing things that you know are not the right thing. You're acting in a way that you know is not your best. So it creates that like cognitive dissonance, I think is what those professionals call it.
Yeah.
Like that anxiety that's like, fuck. So then I stopped, and everything's been great since. I'm kidding. Still, life is tough, and you're always gonna like. I think that's important to highlight, right?
Yeah.
Like, no matter how many right choices you make, there's gonna be things that you struggle with, but that's good, right? There's like. And then that's when you start like looking at like eustress and distress. Like if my stress today is figuring out, how am I going to get another salesperson in here, or how am I going to get that admin assistant that I need to get my company to the next level? That's a much better situation than trying to figure out how I'm going to function without eating a handful of opiates, which was my struggle 10 years ago. Or in your instance, like I can't get out of bed without eating a couple of Adderall. So like that's distress for sure.
Yeah.
And disclaimer, I'm not a shrink. I've never studied medicine or the body, but I feel like that's pretty intuitive to feel like, there's a distinction between good stress and bad stress.
Yeah.
And one is good, one's bad. So
yeah, no, you're right. I didn't know. I didn't realize that about you. Not that I would know that. Kudos to you. Good on you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, you too.
Thank you.
It's, it's crazy how these things unravel, and it's like, it's obvious in hindsight how it happened, but like in the thick of it, it's not so obvious, and it's weird.
It is weird, and it's just a thing. And I'm not saying this as like an absolute like I'm with people that drink all the time. It's not a thing to me, right? I'm just talking about it per se in relation to people like say you and I, now, and I'm sure you could probably relate. I come across so many incredible, high-level, top-performing people that have a similar story and battle, and I just think about more so the people that have just stopped for whatever path reason they have, but then you look back on how it could have looked very different had you not, and what the legacies in those people that they do, wouldn't be here had they not, and just the power of alcohol and drugs. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Oh,
yeah.
Oh, yeah. It's tough, and especially when you're in it, it's really challenging. And it's like, hopefully those people that are struggling, you find the support that you need and the motivation that you need to address it and move in a better direction for yourself. It's not easy though, but my DMs are always open, so.
Yeah.
For what it's worth.
Mine too.
Reach out. I'm happy to talk.
Mine too, buddy.
Man. Crazy world we live.
It really is.
So interesting. Like, I think about how many poor choices I made in life. It's a lot.
Dude.
How do you I think it's important for us, for me personally, it's important for me to understand things that I'm doing right. But it's almost like it's more important to understand the things that I'm not doing right.
Yeah.
But then it's like a balance between like not beating yourself up, right? To try to improve, but you don't have to beat yourself down. How do you master moving through life in an optimal way to where it's like you're working to be better, but you're enjoying the victories? Like, have you found a successful way to do that?
So, I just have a lot of experiences that have shaped my thoughts on all of this. So part of my story, since college up until 2019, I've been arrested for DWI 5 times, which is kind of a lot. In Texas, if you've been arrested 3 times, you go to prison for 2 to 10 years. So when the whole AdvoCare thing happened again. I got my last DWI, number 5, and I thought I was going to prison, like for real, for real. It was actually when I started my company. Everything was happening at once, and I'm, you know, mom and dad to my kids, so there was just a lot at stake. And I got to a place where I was so sure what was happening for my future, and I just decided, like, let me just do my best to prepare, and we'll just deal with it as we get there. And for 2.5 years, I was just preparing. Well, anyway, long story short, the court, the day they decided my hearing, my sentence, they actually dismissed my case. Like, no reason, no evidence, no strategy. It was out of the blue that they dismissed my case. And when something like that, where you think for 2.5 years that you're going to prison, like, you are really preparing, it became clear to me in that moment that, like, no matter what, nothing I tried to do, didn't do, like, whatever your beliefs are is going to happen. My personal beliefs were God literally saved me, right? He saved me and rescued me because I didn't deserve that. I was straight up guilty. And so in that moment, just everything shifted for how I, like, view things. And I don't have an outlook of, like, everything's perfect and positive. But what I've learned is crap is going to happen all the time. How you respond is what changes everything that happens in between the crap happening. Does that make sense? Your response is everything. So understanding that, like, things are going to happen, I believe that your destiny is already mapped out. So you just do the best thing you can, responding the right way, and everything's going to be okay. And when you have that mindset, at least for me, it's just easier to endure the things. Like, I know there's not going to be anything I'm not going to be able to. After a moment like that, it changes you.
Very interesting.
I know.
I like it. Yeah. Piggybacking off what you said before about, you know, so many people that are at such a heightened level of success and are just thriving, being in situations similar to, like, what we talked about, or dealing with some sort of craziness that they've had to persevere through. It's like, you know, those losses breed character, and to your point about how you respond, right? You can lay down and be defeated and be a victim, or you can push through, bite down on your mouthpiece, take the shots that life's going to throw at you.
Yep.
And then, you know, throw back some counter punches, right? I like that.
Yeah.
What do you like most about being in the roofing industry?
Oh my gosh, I love this industry. I love roofing. I mean, I'm not gonna lie, like, the income has changed my life, right? So freedom. It has allowed me to just do what I want with my life, just for children and all of that, right? Like, we work hard, but it allows you to be able to play hard. I have met, it's kind of different at this stage of life, right? To, like, meet new friends and, like, find people that you actually want to, like, talk to and get to know. That has been, honestly, one of the coolest things. Is I've just met awesome people that, like, I never would have met ever. And especially, like, just in the real world, you know, like, you would think we have nothing in common. And I've just met just very cool people, very successful, brilliant people that I am super blessed to kind of get to rub elbows with. Why are you laughing?
Who's your favorite?
Oh, man. Listen, the Cenac family is probably my favorite. And Vanessa. They are. Just because coming in, you know, someone new, first, obviously, you can't not follow John and know how knowledgeable he is. And there's a lot of people in here that proclaim to be all of these things, and I really don't care. I just am trying to find the people who are legitimate, you know, because I'm trying to learn. Like, I'm honestly trying to get better. And John was, like, right away. And so I started going to his classes and following, and then connected with his wife, and they're just great people. So it's easy to like them.
I like John too.
Yeah, they're good people.
What has been the biggest challenge since September 20 when you opened your roofing business?
Oh, man. The biggest challenge with my roofing? It's probably not a fun answer you want to hear. My biggest challenge has been suppliers and manufacturers' representatives doing what they say they're going to do. Is that what you were expecting to hear?
I mean, I can see how it would be challenging.
I get into this industry and I'm like, this is a lot of money I'm spending with you weekly. A lot. In the real world, it's obviously other people's money, right? But if I'm spending 45 grand a week and I'm getting the service, I don't understand. I do not understand the mindset. There are so many people in this industry that I'm just like, what? But yeah, suppliers.
Manufacturers, right? And I did not see that being your answer.
Yeah.
But I think it's real. You know, it's one of those things where, I don't know, maybe in the grand scheme of things, in your market, you're a smaller fish that makes them less money. But like, I don't know. I've made videos about like, if you're gonna work with smaller companies or you're gonna take on a job at a smaller profit margin for whatever reason, right? You should still do that job and provide that same experience, that same level of service as you would if you were making twice the profit margin or your typical margin. Don't do a shit job just because you're making less money.
Yeah.
Don't fucking do it.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and we've figured it out now, 2 years later, but it was a struggle, and it was a common struggle, a common theme amongst, but yeah, I mean, people are people.
People are people.
People are people, man.
And that's all they'll ever be.
Actually.
Dropping some fire here on the Mission
People
podcast. And by
people.
the way, this is episode 26 with Heather Hitchcock.
Heather S.
Sponsored by Roofer. Thank you, Roofer, and thank you to the audience for allowing us to be happy. We just started rolling, and I never even got to introducing you or anything like that. So, yeah.
We started talking about Chad.
We can't always be perfect. It's fine.
No.
There's always an element of human error that's in play, and it's fine.
Yeah.
So if you listen to this point, you got the intro. Congratulations.
You got the intro.
If you reach far enough down in the bag, there's going to be a little prize in the bottom of the Cracker Jack bag.
Little temporary tattoo.
How many podcasts have you been
on? Like, I think the most in roofing ever. I made a joke, like, I actually made a post and I deleted it today. Because I didn't want people to get offended. But it was like, how to become a roofer. Number 1, get a ladder. Number 2, start a podcast. No, probably like 12.
What have you found to be the most interesting question that you've gotten while being on a podcast?
Good question. My most interesting question has been, what did I take? Did I take any strategies, any concepts, any mindsets from my time in multi-level marketing and apply it to my roofing company? It was a good question.
What's the answer?
Well, the answer was yes, and that's why it was a great question, because there's so many things that I have brought in, whether you like MLM or not. And this is somebody who's not really a fan, understandably. But like one of the things I'm doing is, in my previous experience with Advocare, so we were paid 5 different ways. There were 5 different income streams within our job. So there was a lot of motivation for people to do better. So there's 2 ways I've implemented that, or we're implementing, and one is with recruitment. So my salespeople are motivated to recruit good people, and then there's a percentage, there's a compensation figured, calculated based on their sales, so on and so forth. So it's almost like a leadership bonus per se, an override. So there's some different comp plan things that I've stolen from MLM that I think are super beneficial. They help me and they help my people. So it's been one of the ways, yeah.
I could see. So when you, is it specific to a referral or somebody that they bring in themselves?
To sell, yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So like if you hire a sales rep, you wouldn't put them under them.
Correct.
In
I'm not going to.
Structure.
I wouldn't. I'm not going to give them percentages of compensation if I'm recruiting them. But if they're recruiting someone that they're going to help build a roofing business with, then they're going to get a percentage of that person's sales, so long as they keep up with their end of the bargain, obviously.
Mm-hmm. That's interesting.
I know.
So how well has that worked thus far?
So we're just implementing. I just started hiring people. I've only had one sales guy. And so it was a matter of getting everything in here on paper to be an actual system. So that's been what's happening. And it's literally rolling out like right now.
Easier said than done, right? Taking all the shit from up here.
Way easier said than done.
Yeah.
Yeah. Way.
What's the most interesting interaction that you've had with somebody in the roofing industry?
The most interesting. Gosh, I've had. Like, give me a little more direction.
For better or worse, a situation that you walk away from or something that comes top of mind when I ask you that question, where it's like, fuck. Yeah, that was awesome, and that was awful.
Okay. I actually did a podcast with Eric Obremt, and we had an encounter about a year prior that kind of left in some awkwardness. We just have different beliefs surrounding some things, and it was a very known thing. And he invited me to be on his podcast, and I kind of balked for 6 months because I knew we had these differences, and my problem was the first time I met him, I was very new and I was a little intimidated, and so I wasn't all the way my true self. And when I said my true self, we realized we did not agree. And so I was like, well, I don't want to go on this podcast if I don't get to be my true self. And so I got to go on that podcast, be my true self, and it was really cool. We had a really cool conversation, and I think there was a lot of respect established in a very awkward circumstance that it was cool. So it was that would be that thing. It was a good thing. And Eric will smile if he watches and hears this.
So always be yourself.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think diversity of thought is incredibly important in society, in social circles, and everywhere, right? The world would be very bland and uneventful if we all had the same belief systems, bought in, subscribed to the same things, and just co-signed what the next person said. It would suck.
Yeah. So why do most people seem, in my experience, to resist that?
I think because like when you get the hot takes and you get the spiciness, it goes back to that attention thing, right? So like that makes people gravitate towards that conversation and side one way or the other, and ultimately that feeds people's ego, is that they're making an impact and they have a voice, and that feels good to them.
Yeah.
No matter how toxic or benign it is, right? That'd be my take.
Yeah, that's a good take.
You see it all the time.
Yeah, no, I do. That's why I said it. Like, especially as someone new to the industry, it's interesting to get in and there's clicks and you see that it's like we can all have our own, opinion and thing, and we don't have to agree, and we can still support each other. So many people don't even know each other and they have opinions already,
Yeah, I posted something a long time ago. Like, it's a guy there with like his shirt off and he's got a big white sign. It's like, we can agree and still be friends.
Thank you.
When I hear people like losing friends because of political beliefs, right? Like, I lost a friend because he fucking, I'm like, it's just a goddamn shame that you can know for somebody for a year, 10 years, 30 years, and have so much of a history with. Like, that's such a scarce thing in life, to have somebody in your life that, probably cares about you and you care about them, and to lose that over something like, I like this politician, I like this politician, or I think this is right, I think this is wrong. It's like, try to understand each other's beliefs and be respectful that not everyone's going to align with what you want or what you do or how you think, and like, that's okay.
Yeah.
It's okay.
Yeah, it's okay. You don't have to agree.
Okay.
You don't have to hate them. It's okay.
Yeah, so I'm trying to solve the world's problems one podcast.
Hey, you're on your way.
These conversations.
You are on your way, my friend. I feel it.
Add one page of the book every day.
Yeah. Are you writing a book for real, or was that a joke?
I don't know.
Okay.
Tell me.
I don't know. I didn't know if there was a little hidden under.
Amazon bestseller, Michael Stearns. Got a nice ring to it.
You never know.
It's funny. I got hit up randomly on LinkedIn like 4 to 6 days ago. And it was like, hey, I work for a publishing company. I was just wondering, I looked at your LinkedIn profile, and I'm impressed. Have you ever thought about writing a book about your accomplishments? I'm like, well, it's funny you asked that, because literally the day before, I told a couple of my team members, I'm going to write a book. So her timing was impeccable. I know it's a canned pitch, and I was like, it's funny you asked that. I was actually just talking about that yesterday. She's like, well, what are you going to write about? I'm like, I have no fucking idea. But you asked me a question, I gave you an honest answer, and that's all there is to it. Is that I established yesterday that I'm gonna write a book. I have no idea about what, when, how. But yeah, there we go. I will write a book eventually.
I gotcha.
My commitment to you.
Yeah, I'll be.
And the audience.
Yes.
Get a book. Now it might be a picture book, and that's fine. Baby steps.
Hey.
Crawl before you walk before you run, that type of thing.
That'd be an easy one to start.
Yeah.
Right?
Any questions for me?
Yeah, so how long have you had your company?
A couple years. 2 years.
2 years?
Going on 2 years, right there, yeah.
Yeah. And you got connected to Chad through you provide services to his boss, his employer.
Correct.
That's cool.
Yeah.
And where do you live?
Buffalo.
You're in Buffalo. This is the craziest thing to me. I didn't realize you were in Buffalo. I swore I looked at your profile and it said you lived somewhere else. It must have been next to when I changed my middle name. Okay.
Go Bills.
Go Bills. I mean. Listen.
It's been a long time coming. We've been patient.
I hate the Dallas Cowboys only because go back to that Super Bowl, okay? We had a home of Buffalo Bills fans sign in our yard since we've been here. And my neighbors across the street, I think I was like 12 years old, they came, rang the doorbell with champagne. They were Cowboys fans. And I loved the Bills. And from that moment on, I've hated the Cowboys. Never changed. I hope they do good this year, though. I'm rooting for them.
The Cowboys or the Bills?
No, the Bills. I still hate the Cowboys.
So there was this funny meme that was going around that I shared on Facebook. I don't know if you saw it or not, but it was like on an official NFL letterhead. Like, due to the concerns of people having home field advantage and the potential of it happening again, we've decided that we're going to put the Super Bowl in Arlington, Texas, home of the Dallas Cowboys, so it'll never happen again.
I was dying. Actually, I was like, is this for real?
Yeah. No, and then I tagged the Roof Tiger, Ben Morrow, friend of mine, former client, because he's a big Dallas guy, and I'm like, what better way
So
to
good.
just snub him a little?
Oh, man. It's true, though.
Hashtag Bills Mafia.
That's true. True statement, too.
Yeah.
Right?
I mean, I just want us to see us win a Super Bowl, honestly. Give us one.
Have y'all won since Jim Kelly left? No, okay.
Haven't even been.
Oh, you haven't been?
I mean, we just sniffed the playoffs for the first time in like
I know.
18 years, 4 years ago.
I know. Yeah.
It was a tough couple decades for them.
I know. I've
Stay
endured.
loyal.
Yeah, you should be. Yeah, for sure.
Your thickness and thin. Something like that.
Yeah. Or sickness and death and all that.
Bills, yeah.
Whatever.
Fuck.
Whatever.
What else you got for me? Come on, shoot.
What's the weather like right now? Just kidding. Well, actually,
cold.
is it? You know,
Yeah.
we're supposed to get some cold weather, but it's actually like 55 degrees out right now. So
Yeah, we're going to Costa Rica in 2 weeks for my honeymoon. We got married in September. That's how great my wife is.
Come
Shout out to
on.
Lacey. We the night of our wedding, the next morning we woke up and flew down to the One Industry One Model in Charlotte,
okay.
where
Wow, that's
we
a
did,
good woman.
speech with Tim Brown. And then with the next 2 days later, we flew down to Florida for TJ's event, Roofing Ahead of the Curve. You know, that was our little honeymoon. I'm like, I'll make it up to you, I promise.
That's a
And
good
she trusted
woman.
me.
You better make it up to her.
And she fucking deals with me.
Oh man. I mean, I don't know you very well, but just what I heard right there, she's a good woman.
Yeah, right.
So where you guys are going to Costa Rica?
Yeah, we're going to the west coast of Costa Rica.
Okay.
Guada something.
How long?
Guanacaste.
What's that?
Guanacaste, I think it's called.
Okay.
Yeah, we're going for a week. Going for a week. And I mean, I'm really excited. I hate flying. I hate it. Terrified.
You do?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's unsettling. I
Really?
don't like the idea. I don't meet the pilot. You know, I don't know who you are, what you've been up to. Like, I feel like I want. Okay, so I like control. Okay, a lot of people like control. It's fine.
There we go.
You know, when I'm 40,000 feet in the air, I feel like, you know.
Who's in control?
I feel like I'd be more at ease if I understood some context of that person, how their day is going. How long did you sleep last night? Did you sleep last night? I don't want to make assumptions.
Are you intoxicated? Do you have the mental?
Is this your first flight out of the simulator? I mean, you got to start somewhere.
Hey,
I ain't knocking you.
It's like,
I don't want to be the guinea pig.
It's like my metal roof. You're like, did you tell that customer that was your first metal roof? This is my first time flying.
I've never done this before, but I got a great team of resources.
Hey,
Sign here.
You know, I actually said, I was like, that guy didn't even freaking ask to see one project. Hey, I'm just the master closer, baby. ABC.
Yeah, I was gonna say, it speaks odes to your sales acumen. So
I mean,
well done.
I really like. All kidding aside, and you know, a lot of people might roll their eyes and be like, "Oh, because she's a female, she's attractive." Like, obviously, yes, those things help, but you can't be a stupid idiot. You know what I mean? Like, I actually am good at what I do, and I connect with people, and I'm relatable, so they trust me, and I do what I say, so it's easy for me in those situations to just get it done. And then you better believe if you give me a yes, I'm gonna make it happen. If I have a heart attack or not, it's happening. If you say yes, we're gonna figure it out.
What have you found? I know that you said you were talking about your website, going to a Facebook page, and you just recently got a prototype homepage concept, which looked dope.
Yeah.
But you said that you're so busy with stuff that was coming in without doing like crazy advertising, things like that. So like, what have you found, especially in your first couple of years? Like, if somebody were to come to you and say, "Hey, I'm opening a roofing company tomorrow, and I need to find a way to get business."
Yeah.
What did you find to be the most productive, and what advice would you give them?
Oh my gosh. Okay. Have you ever read The Power of Who? I look over here because all my books. Okay. So
Is it a picture book?
Pardon?
Is it a picture book?
No.
No.
Green, blue. The concept is like basically everything you need in every dimension is as accessible in your life, be it relationships, people, perfect example. Here I am talking to you, you're connected to Chad's my cousin. You know what I mean? Like, we're all connected, and if it weren't for Facebook, we wouldn't realize it. Anyway, go back to the question that you asked me. What was the question? Because I just went all the way. Okay.
You had somebody...
Sorry.
You cut me off, Heather.
I know, I'm so sorry. Sometimes I forget what I'm saying, and because I'm going senile also. But I remembered. Okay. No, I really am.
Good.
I just look good for my age, but I'm old. Okay, so I really did just forget. Okay, low-hanging fruit. Okay, listen. So I have 100% built my business off social media. And I started these little videos. The goal became really quickly, and it was very uncomfortable, was to get it out there that everyone that looks at my page or my story or my messages in the most non-annoying way puts me together with the word roof. And so when they think roof or hear roof, not only do they think of me, but they want to tell people, I know someone. And that was my mission. And the ironic thing was, I didn't even realize how strategic I was being until I got to this other side. And now I'm like, I was very unintentionally intentional, if that makes sense. I was intentionally trying to get traction and build presence, unintentionally realizing to the degree that it was happening. And so my advice to any person starting a company would be to use your social media, your network, your low-hanging fruit, and get uncomfortable with videos with just very basic teaching concepts to teach your people something about their property, add some value to their life, while connecting the fact that you roof to their little brain. I don't mean little, big brain.
The big brain.
Yeah.
Nice catch.
Yeah.
I think that's really good advice.
Well, thanks.
It is. I know that it's really good advice, and I think people would be they would do very well by listening to that advice. Glad you said it, not me.
Hey.
They're gonna listen to you.
Third party cred, baby.
Yeah. So spend a bunch of money on social media ads. Is that what you're saying?
I've never spent $1. I know. Look, do not hear me say that these things aren't important and necessary. I have a large network, and I think this is a gifting of mine. So I'm not saying that everyone should blow through, but you absolutely can be very intentional with organic strategy and marketing. So I've never bought a lead, not one. I've never paid for an ad. I just bought a website. I know you don't want me to say that, but that's my truth. I haven't.
Not from a son. It's a travesty.
Well, and that was the whole thing. It was like, if it's not broke, why am I trying to fix it?
That's a good point.
You know what I mean? I'm going to spend my, I value you. I value what you do, but I have exactly what I'm being solicited coming in organically to my phone that is turning into transactions. So why would I?
No, and I love your approach to social media. And I'm not a huge advocate for social media, especially hiring a company to do social media on your behalf, because one of two things are going to happen. You're going to hire a company, they're going to post 17 syllables with some bullshit stock photo that's going to reach 6 people.
Thank you.
Your mom and cousin are 2 of them. Your wife or husband's the other one. And then 3 maybe past customers. Great. Okay. And you're just ashamed of the messaging that they're receiving. And you're paying for this, right? $500 a month, $1,000 a month, whatever. Or you're going to have a company that understands what it takes to make your brand messaging consistent across platforms, be clear and concise, the value of the assets, the photos, the videos, the content, and the amount that you're going to have to pay them to get the ball, let's say, across the goal line, because we're talking about football. And, I mean, at that point, all they've got to do is really publish it. So, work through those things yourself.
Yeah.
And you made a really good point about connecting your audience with the fact that you do roofing while giving them valuable. I call it no strings attached content, right? Give them value.
Yeah.
Value.
Yeah.
Right? Whether you're up on a roof and you see a common issue, right? You're up there marking off hail strikes. This is what a hail strike looks like, and what I'm doing, I'm circling this because this, or whatever, right? And this is why it's important. The roof's not going to fail tomorrow, but it's not going to last, the advertised lifespan because it's compromised, and that's why your insurance may decide to help you with the cost of your roof. But you got to pay your deductible.
Well, listen to you. Were you in roofing before?
No.
Okay.
No.
You just talked to a lot of roofers.
Heavily immersed in roofing for the last 6 to 8 years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, but and we do content. We do a ton of content, right? We write between 4,000 and 12,000 worth of content for roofing contractors per client. We've got 35 clients per month, right? So, we do keyword research. We understand what's important, what people are searching for, where our opportunities are. We pick our spots, and we write content about it. So, I mean, you have to understand what you're writing about. Otherwise, you're going to sound like a buffoon, and people aren't going to be happy.
This is true.
But just because take for instance, even if you have the best company in the world, whoever that is, doing your marketing and they're writing really good content, putting out blog content, they're doing outreach. That stuff's great. You should take that content and make a video about it.
Yeah. Yes.
Or I tell everyone, just think of everything you've ever been asked on a sales call. Every objection. Talk about it, and how do you overcome that objection, and just make the whole intention of that video overcoming that objection.
That's good.
Find ways to differentiate yourself. Talk about how important it is as far as ventilation in the attic and how that relates to this GAF Golden Pledge warranty you're going to sell them. That's going to mean shit if it's not properly vented and they install it incorrectly, which is why it's really important to be careful who you hire. Here's a link to check everybody's license and insurance. You can check the license here, insurance there for where that applies. I know Texas is a little bit of wild, wild west.
Yeah, do what you want. You don't need it.
But a lot of places that can be very big in differentiating yourself.
Absolutely.
Right? You gotta do it. You just gotta do
You
it.
have to.
And then if you make that video and you have a piece of content on your website, like a blog post, put it up on YouTube, that video, and then embed that video into the blog post. That'll help.
Yeah.
Help move the needle.
Help move it. I need to venture into the YouTube shorts. I need to get.
YouTube shorts are great.
Yeah. But no, you're
A
right.
lot of exposure.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this was amazing. So what is one last thing you want to leave the audience with before I cut you loose? Because I know you're super busy trying to run a business, and I don't want to hold you.
One last thing. You know, I feel like I'm probably like the annoying. I have all these like emotion, feel good, fuzzy answers always that people are probably like rolling their eyes. But, I'm super big on mental health and people not feeling stupid about struggling. And so I felt stupid about my struggle for a very, very, very long time. And I'm a very capable, smart woman, but I was stuck thinking I wasn't because of a lot of things I struggled with. And so I like to put it out there that if people are struggling, I am an open channel for help, and I like to encourage people to just keep going, because I'm going to tell you what, 4 years ago, honestly, when I wanted to take my own life, I did not envision my life looking even close to what it looks like today. And so I like to try to help people who might be stuck thinking that same thing. The future's bright. Just hang on. You got to walk it out, and you got to find people to help kind of walk with you. So I just like to throw that out there, and not the most chipper message, but man, it's just what I'm about.
No, it's important. I think you being compassionate, being willing to help, acknowledging there's an issue, and throwing a lifeline out there for those that need it, and being willing to help through that. I mean, it's admirable. And I'll second that. Anything that I can do to help, sure, reach out. The world would be a better place with more compassion.
For sure. But I want to ask you a question to go out, if that's okay, if I may ask the host. So, being immersed in roofing for 6 to 8 years, that's what you said, right? And I know you have lots of conversations with probably lots of people that you've seen on all ends of the spectrum. What would you tell someone like me, moving into third year, newer in the industry? What would be some advice based on what you have kind of talked with people about? Something you'd tell me to do, not do? What would it be?
This is going to be a long-winded answer.
Let's
All right,
go.
so you're doing a lot of the stuff that a lot of people aren't doing, as far as like things that you can do internally, creating that content, getting in front of your audience, and developing a ton of business. Because a lot of the times what people think is, I'm just going to pay for this outcome, whether it's paying a lead distributor or aggregator, whether it's paying a company like ours. And like, there's a path to success that way. But there's also like, if that's one cookie jar or two cookie jars, and you've got this third and fourth cookie jar just waiting to have the cookies plucked out, like, I'm a fat kid, I want all the cookies, so like, give me some cookies out of all of these, right? So I usually try to implore people to do the things that you are doing on, as far as growing organically, not in the sense of Google, but in the sense of just kind of like guerrilla marketing and just that gritty type of self-marketing, which I love. The other thing that I would say is like, that's likely not going to be as scalable. So depending on what your goals look like, maybe you cap out at 3 million or 4 million or 5 million, and maybe you want to get to 10. It's like, where do you make up that gap? And that's where I would say like you probably want to look into some sort of like inbound marketing, to where you're piggybacking off the brand you've already built, and then taking advantage of the opportunity of people that are actively looking. Because even in Texas, people are getting their door pounded daily by so many people. I don't know. I'll ask you. You door knock, right?
I've only door knocked once.
Okay. What about your sales rep?
They door knocked once too with me. That's the thing. Yeah, it's kind of an anomaly what's happened at Royal Roofing, so all the questions don't really make sense, or the answers to the question.
Okay, so all right, so then maybe I won't ask you, but I would have to assume there's a certain percentage of people, no matter how many times they have their door knocked, where they're not going to buy a roof from somebody knocking on their door.
Yeah.
right? Maybe it's 10%, maybe it's 30, maybe it's 50. I don't know. But when you're in a, where exactly are you located?
Houston.
You're in Houston. Pretty good population density, I imagine, right? A lot of people.
A lot of people.
So even if it's like 10% of the metro area, like that's a fucking huge number.
Tons.
And like, where are those people going to go? Some will go to Facebook groups, some will go to Nextdoor, some are going to go to Google because they go to Google for everything else. And there's opportunity there. And that's kind of why I got into the world of digital marketing, because we can show you how many people are looking, we can prove value, there's attribution to say, you know what, we know for a fact that you signed 250K in the last 3 weeks from our Google ad campaign. Like, I like that. Some things not to do. Don't forego. This is a mistake I see made often. Whether it's you're hiring a marketing company, you're hiring a salesperson, you're hiring anybody, don't forego your due diligence just because you're getting worn down in the fact that you don't have the time that you need or want in order to make the decision, or you're just worn down and looking. I think I was listening to The Roofing Machine, Martin Pettigrew's book, I think last week, and he was talking about how he did 100 interviews for the one position. Sounds fucking awful. I think it was for his inside sales position. Martin, if I'm fucking this up, I'm sorry. But I'm pretty sure that was the case. But, you know, people get, you know, when you're running a business and you're likely, if you're doing a couple million in revenue, you're still wearing multiple hats that you're trying to get off your fucking head. So it's really hard when people don't show up for an interview, or you interview 7 people and they all suck, and it's like, fuck, what am I going to do? I see people acquiesce, and whether it's with a marketing company or it's with any type of employee, to say, I'm just going to take that next person without regards to how qualified or what my gut tells me. And that can put you in a really precarious situation.
This is true.
For sure.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. You know, and the other thing I would say to do is, and you kind of already professed that you're working on it, is getting that shit out of your head on paper and be very systems and process oriented. Because I don't give a shit if there's not a process, there's not a system, there's not a process. Shit's gonna get missed. It's not gonna get done. Even if you have a system and process, there's still that human error element to it. But the more things that you have to drive a consistent result, the more likely it is that that's going to happen. So we're not trying to necessarily eliminate. We're not going to be perfect. We're trying to move the needle to as close as perfect as possible, one day at a time.
This makes me happy. This makes me feel good when my thoughts line up with pros in the game. It's encouraging.
Oh, it makes me feel good when someone refers to me as a pro. So, I mean, we both feel great. This is fantastic. I feel really fortunate, and I'm very grateful for you taking some time to chop it up. We got off to a choppy start.
I know, I'm so sorry. It's perfect now, though.
It is. Yeah, it's good.
I appreciate it. Yeah, I've enjoyed the conversation and appreciate being on with you, my friend.
Awesome. And we gone.
Bye-bye.